this opportunity to welcome you to this sitting of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. To welcome you on our public hearings, day 5 of where we will be engaging with the citizens of the Republic of South Africa on the upgrading of the land tenure rights, upgrading of the land tenure rights amendment bill, where we have been engaging with a number of stakeholders to gain their input. I therefore want to take this opportunity to welcome you all, honorable members who are in attendance, and also welcome all our presenters who will be afforded 10 minutes to put their presentations. And after the 3 presenters, we will then have questions of clarity, which we will then afford our presenters an opportunity to give their responses. Allow me then, honorable members, to take this opportunity to call upon our first presenter, Mr. Bongani Mtsweni, community member coming all the way from Mpumalanga province. Mtsweni, you may proceed. Unmute your microphone, Mtsweni. Yes, please unmute your microphone. Unmute the microphone so we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sanibonani.
Kunjani Mtsweni?
Siyaphila kakhulu, ngibingelela bonke nje abakhona ikomiti lonke. Mtsweni from
President Mtsweni.
Mtsweni from Standerton.
Mtsweni from Standerton.
Bihansel Farm.
Bihansel Farm.
So engithandayo nje ukuthi ngikusho ngingumhlali wasemakhaya.
I want to say as a rural person, I want to say that
engifisa ukuthi senzelwe kona noma mhlambe ku
my wish, things that I wish that they be done for us about the tenure rights, land tenure rights.
Okokuqala ukuthi
firstly
sinikezwe,
we should be given
noma ngabe iphepha elibhaliwe nje i-agreement
phakathi kwethu nomnikazi weplaza, like an agreement showing the ownership of the farm where we reside,
ukuze sibe nelungelo mhlambe lokuthi sikwazi ukwakha,
so that you are able to build or erect our houses,
and sikwazi nokuthi siwenze ama-permanent structure ngoba manje sihlalele evalweni, sihlale endlini eyiwayo
erect permanent structures. We are having mud huts in the farm.
Izindlu zethu kumanje asikhona ukufaka even ugesi ebhadalele ku-Eskom, but abelungu
we are
bethu
unable to erect our houses. We don't have electricity. Our farm owners don't want to sign the papers that we give them for ownership.
So esicelayo nje singabahlali basemakhaya ukuthi
umthetho
ngisazongenelela,
while waiting for the law enforcement to take its course, we request.
So siyacela nje kakhulu ukuthi lawo malungelo anjalo sinikezwe wona nabo lokuthi uma umlungu ehamba ethengisa,
when the farm owner
ehamba ethengisa indawo,
goes away leaving the place where we reside as residents,
siyafisa njengabahlali ukuthi sinikezwe ithuba lokuthi nathi sazi ukuthi lo thengayo uthenge kusukela
we wish that we be informed as to how was the agreement between the buyer and the seller of the farm.
ngoba uma sekahambile ngoba kwesikhathi sala silwa nomthengi osuke
Because
ethengile abala
afterwards, we
ukuthi
fight with the new owner of the farm.
So siyacela ukuthi ke njalo uma ngabe umlungu ehamba ethengisa
We
ifarm
request
sazi thina ukuthi indawo
that
yethu
whenever
igcinaphi
the
namalungelo
previous
ethu ayini
farm
kulo
owner
osuke ethengile.
leaves, we have to know the agreement between the new owner and the new buyer and the seller.
So siyacela nokuthi futhi ke sivunyelwe ukuthi noma ngaba ama RDP
We also
akwazi ukungena
request,
ngoba
even
asikhona
if
ukuthola
it's
uchazo even
RDP
ku-government.
houses, we don't even get this assistance of the RDP houses from the government. We don't.
Ngoba njalo uma ngabe ikhansela lifuna ukuletha something umlungu uyalatha endaweni yakhe akayifuni leyo into leyo mabahambe bosenzele emalokishini.
Every time when there is a project to be brought to us, the farm owner doesn't allow us to get those benefits. They don't want us to do whatever in their farms. We are not allowed to.
So namanje asinawo amanzi and then uma kuthunyelwa amajojo from kamasipala umlungu akayifuni endaweni yakhe zonke lezo zinto lezo.
Even now we don't have water. If the municipality brings the JoJo tanks to us, the farm owner doesn't allow that to happen.
So kafushane nje asitelanga kahle endaweni zasemakhaya ngenxa yabelungu abafikile bathenga indawo esakhulela kuzo.
Shortly, we are having it hard where we reside because of the new buyers of the farms where we reside. They don't work well with us.
Siyalwa imihla namalanga.
We fight every day.
Silimitiwe eintweni sasikade sikwazi ukufika kuzo asikhona ukwenza next sinjengabantu abafikayo kodwa umlungu kusuke kunguye osuke efika endaweni.
There are lots of limitations. We are unable to access whatever that we enjoyed before. Because of these new farm owners, we are unable to access whatever assistance that we can get.
Inkomo zethu asena access yokuphuza emadamini la zikade yiphuza khona namhlanje ziphuza nathi amanzi lawo esiwadla endlini nakhona ziyaliqeda iviki zingawaphuzanga amanzi ngoba umlungu enciphisile indawo waphinde wathatha futhi nedamu.
Our livestock doesn't enjoy water. We have to share water with our livestock because the farm owners don't allow things to happen freely and smoothly.
So yiloko nje lesicela ukuthi silungiselwe kona amalungelo ethu abhekelelwe kakhulu njengathi abahlala ekudala abahlezi endaweni noma endaweni esizalelwe kuzo sakhulela kuzo asiyazi enye indawo ngaphandle kwale ndawo lezi esihlala kuzo.
That is what we are pleading for. As the people who have been there, we are born and bred in those areas, we no longer enjoy whatever we must enjoy.
So ngiyabonga kakhulu kwamanje lokho nje benginakho.
Thank you very much for now. That is all that I wanted to say.
Siyabulela kakhulu bawo ubongani Ntsweni from Mpumalanga with your presentation, and I'm certain that the honorable members have received it well. We will in due time be able to take an opportunity to ask questions of clarity. Honorable members, allow me to call on our next presenter, Utatu Dr. Fani Mkapai from Alusa, Empuma Koloni. Mkapai.
Ngiyabulisa mhlanga phambili.
Ninjani tata?
Sikhona mhlekazi kunjani?
Siyaphila nathi bawami.
Yes.
You may proceed, Dr. Nkapai.
Thank you. I really feel honored for this opportunity to be able to talk to you about the experiences and the work we are doing regarding issues of land. I'm a research associate of the Center for African Studies at the University of Cape Town. I'm also a senior researcher for the Trust for Community Outreach and Education, a national non-governmental organization that works closely with Inyanda National Land Movement. Inyanda consists of landless rural women's organizations such as the Rural Women's Assembly, farm workers and dwellers, small-scale producers, some on land reform farms, whilst others are on communal land. Residents in former mission stations and on commonage land, as well as small-scale fishers, mostly in coastal areas. Most of the members of Inyanda are rural residents under traditional authorities. Therefore, the issues contained in the bill are relevant to most members of Inyanda. Chairperson and honorable members, let me briefly talk about our South African context currently, which emanates or comes from colonial intervention and apartheid engineering that has resulted in compartmentalization of South Africa into different spaces such as urban, rural areas under traditional authorities, rural spaces under commercial farms, and the former mission stations. Due to this set history, these different areas have different land tenure arrangements. For instance, white people in urban areas generally have freehold titles, whereas Black people in the same urban space largely have no formal tenure arrangements. At the same time, a large portion of commonage land around urban areas is mostly on long-term leases to white farmers, whereas their Black counterparts get it on short-term leases, those who are lucky to get it anyway. Similarly, most white commercial farmers have freehold titles. The same applies to Black farmers who have acquired farms privately. However, some Black farmers who have acquired land through land reform either struggle to get the titles to their land or get it on leasehold. The latter refers to people who get access to land on leasehold through the government's proactive land acquisition strategy. On the other, shell farms are a home large group with precarious recently faces of their rights. For instance, farm workers in citrus farms in the Sundays River Valley of the Eastern Cape have their rights violated daily. White farmers take the workers for a big rough ride. White farmers use the extension of Security of Tenure Act to evict the farm workers. Additionally, the land use and cultural rights of people working and living on both white-owned and Black-owned farms are constantly violated. The experience of a family on a white-owned farm in Dordrecht under Emalahleni local municipality, which is similar to that of farm dwellers on Black-owned farms in the Beestekral farms under the Sakisizwe local municipality, are telling. The situation of residents on church land in the former mission stations is no better. Their land tenure rights are precarious and leave the residents extremely vulnerable. The experience of residents of the Paloti farm in the Enoch Gijima local municipality, residents in Beersheba in the Tsatadu district, and Zoar in the Western Cape confirm the precarity of the situation of residents on church land. After spending their lives on church land, residents in the Paloti farm are not only denied the right to bury their members, they are also threatened with eviction. They are also denied the right to perform cultural practices such as taking their sons to initiation schools on the farm and access to water and electricity have also been denied. This is similar to what the previous speaker has shared with us right just now. Chairperson and honorable members, the above examples clearly point to the failures of land reform in the past 26 years of democracy. The land tenure issue in these different spaces of the South African society need to be central in any attempt that is made to deal with land reform. This brings me to the upgrading of Land Tenure Rights Amendment Bill. Chairperson and honorable members, the overall intention of the bill of ensuring that landholders get ownership to the land they occupy is commendable. However, the bill is still a half measure that does not address the various tenure challenges highlighted above. For instance, according to Schedules 1 and 2 of the Upgrading of Tenure Land Tenure Rights Act of 1991, the bill is mostly concerned about land in the townships and in the former homelands. Therefore, it will lead to formulation of separate tenure for the residents in the townships and that of those in rural areas under traditional authorities. This will be perpetuation of the colonial and apartheid systems with their different land tenure regimes. The approach undermines the country's effort to forge a common citizenship, yet this is an opportunity to develop a common land tenure system that assists in the development of a unified South Africa based on common citizenship. Related to the above point is the need to clarify the relationship of this process of upgrading land tenure with the process of reviewing land tenure, the Department of Department of Rural Development and Land Reform has been involved in partnership with the United Nations Development Program. I'm aware of this process because I have been directly involved in it. The ultimate goal of the review of land tenure laws and policies would be the formulation of land tenure policy that is linked to serious land redistribution. That land tenure reform directly contributes to efforts to address landlessness in the country. It is unclear how the current bill contributes to this process. Chairperson, the bill has a lot of gray areas that need further clarification. In a national discussion with members of Inyanda over the weekend, the members pointed to areas that need further elaboration. The central question members wanted to know relates to the roles of the various stakeholders in the consideration of the application for conversion of tenure arrangements. For instance, can I continue, Chair?
Please proceed, Dr. Nkapai.
Oh, I heard a voice, okay.
Yes, can everyone please mute your microphone so that we don't disturb the proceedings? Proceed, Bankapai.
Thank you. For instance, they wanted to understand the role of the residents, traditional authorities, and the municipalities in the whole process. The questions are informed by the desire of the members to actively participate in the implementation of land reform. This is in line with provisions of Section 59 and 118 of the Constitution, which deal with citizens' participation in parliamentary processes, not only of lawmaking, but also in the implementation of the laws. In other words, there is a call that if the bill becomes law, it must be structured in such a way that the citizens are able to participate at all levels. Moreover, the bill is not clear on the issue of state land. There are people who have been on state land under leasehold arrangements. Some of them are on commonage land, whilst others are on leased farms. What does this act say to such people? The ideal situation would be for the landholders to be granted ownership of their land. What about the white farmers who have long-term leases on commonage land? Are they also going to benefit from this upgrading of tenure rights? If yes, why? And how would that not legitimize apartheid laws that gave preferential treatment to white people? A further point and linked to the previous one concerns the proposal on how the implementation of the act should be structured. The members of Inyanda land movement would like the decentralization of the process of determination of applications for conversion of tenure rights. The proposal is that a democratic and locally based civil society structure be involved in the determination of applications. This makes one of the principles of the Freedom Charter, the people shall govern, realizable. Giving power to citizens also helps to eliminate chances of corrupt practices creeping into the process, which is a serious problem in our country currently. We have had numerous cases of elite capture in the implementation of land reform. This needs to be kept. Therefore, decentralizing the process gives power to ordinary people to take decisions on matters that affect them. Lastly, the bill promises involvement of courts in the determination of ownership where there are disputes. Which courts will be involved in the process? Accessing courts is generally difficult and expensive. Poor people will not be able to challenge resourceful and unscrupulous parties if they go to courts to settle matters. This makes us very critical about the involvement of courts in the resolution of disputes, unless there will be special courts specifically established to deal with these matters. By way of conclusion, Chairperson and honorable members, I want to say that there is a serious need to link the bill to the broader processes of land reform with its three elements: land tenure, land redistribution, and the restitution. Granting land ownership to people in overcrowded areas will be like telling them that they are freed while still tied to the tree trunk. The process will not help to resolve the vexed land question. It must be part of a thoroughgoing process of addressing the land question. South Africans have experienced an unfortunate situation of rampant corruption that has even been acknowledged by President Ramaphosa. There have also been allegations of elite capture in the implementation of land reform, where land has not gone to deserving beneficiaries, but to those with political connections. This has happened because of the marginalization of citizens in decision-making processes. Therefore, all active citizen involvement in policy formulation and implementation becomes an important instrument of capping the scourge of corruption. Lastly, the process of upgrading land tenure must be linked to the broader process of all-round land tenure review. The Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Program, has started. Failure to link it will lead to contradictions and unnecessary duplication of processes. Chairperson and honorable members, more importantly, this process must help the country to unravel the different tenure arrangements inherited from previous regimes. Failure to do so will be perpetuation of the colonial and apartheid legacies that have denied citizens citizenship to Black South Africans. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fanning Kapai from Kalusa, Mpumalanga. We will proceed, honorable members, to take our next presenter, Mr. Harry May from Surplus People's Project. Ntate May, good morning.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, members of the committee and also the administrative staff. I would like to thank you on behalf of our organization for this opportunity to make our submission. So I work for an organization, Surplus People Project. It's an NGO that advances agrarian transformation for land, water, food, and climate justice. And we are in solidarity with the struggles of social movements regarding all the issues that I've just mentioned. So we would like to focus our input on our experience over the last 22 years with regard to another piece of tenure legislation that's been promulgated by this parliament called the Transformation of Certain Rural Areas Act, Act 94 of 1998. So there are a number of similarities, but there are also a lot of differences. So hopefully, I mean, we can bring the lessons that we've learned through these years in terms of the implementation of the, what we in shortly I would refer to Trankra, on bearing on the bill. Now, it is quite interesting in section 2, the whole issue that the bill starts of converting land tenure rights into ownership. Just the framing of the bill, that it doesn't provide, like section 25(6) in the Constitution, for kind of a broader exposition of tenure rights. So if we look at section 6, 25(6) of the Constitution, it talks about tenure that is legally secure. So, and in this case, I mean, it only speaks about kind of one form of tenure. And the big question that would arise, and from our experiences over the last 22 years, whether, for instance, ownership or private ownership and having a title deed, whether that is kind of the apex or the best standard for tenure reform. So in our experiences over these years, we've seen, for instance, where CPAs and trusts who had ownership to portions of land that were acquired through the land reform program, that they've lost portions of the land that belonged to a community. And that land was transferred to them in ownership. So it is quite clear that the issue of having a title deed needs to seriously be considered in this amendment bill. So whether there shouldn't be an opportunity to have a wider range of tenure forms being made available, and that the principle should be that the legislation should provide for, as in section 25(6) of the Constitution, for security of tenure for the members. So it was quite interesting in terms of the framing of the Transformation Act. So it follows the Constitution. It doesn't explicitly say that land should be transferred, for instance, to municipalities or to CPAs in the form of ownership, but it says that whatever the legal entities where the land is transferred to, it should provide for security of tenure and the kind of mechanisms that should be put in place to ensure that it's compliant with section 26(5) of the 25(6) of the Constitution. And then I think I'm in a seriously consideration that needs to be given by the committee is the whole question of the support in general that will be provided for land tenure administration. In our recommendation to the minister in 2003, our organization has been appointed as a facilitator for the tenure reform process in the Northern Cape. Our principal recommendation was that the state needs to provide support for land tenure administration. So that was one of the key issues in all the municipalities that was mentioned and that came from the process, because it would seem that without the support for tenure administration, it would be very difficult for people's rights to stay protected. Then also, I think I'm in serious consideration need to be given also to the budget for this specific dimension of tenure reform. And then also need to look at the capacity of the department to be able to realize Section 25(6) of the Constitution. Now, I also want to speak about the issue of transferring of ownership to tribes. Now, I think in our experience, and we've got lots of communal land that's held in common ownership or common property by the communities in these areas. And people have different kind of rights. So what the academics would refer to as nested rights. So, I mean, they have rights as individuals within a household, they have rights as a household, they have rights as a community to different portions of land. And if there are no clear rules that would provide protection to these members in these communities or in a particular tribal area or for a particular tribe, I think serious consideration needs to be given when land as proposed be transferred to a tribe. So the most important thing for us, like in our experience with the Trunka legislation, was that we've tried in terms of the regulations that were developed, the rules that were developed for the proposed CPAs, who take ownership in some cases, rules within the municipalities, the regulations that in actual fact provide security of tenure. So we had a long consultation process with these communities around these issues. Some of the practice were codified into regulations, and this is really been a comprehensive process, and it's not something that you can do in a short period of time. Now, I think it's important that the committee should give consideration to the recognition of all these layers of rights, including all the informal and the customary rights of the citizens or residents within those particular area. And then I want to make a few other comments on some specific aspects, like for instance, the idea that that people, that right holders should get access to the process, and it suggested in this amendment bill that it will be done by publication in the Gazette. In our experience, I mean, using local languages and in all kind of media, local newspapers, newsletters by people who will facilitate the process is more appropriate, and it gives access to people. So in our processes from the period 2000 to 2003, I mean, thousands of people in these areas were involved because, I mean, they could get access to the information, and everything was done in the local languages. Then there's also the whole issue of when people should get relief when they're not satisfied with a particular outcome. And it suggested, I mean, that the court would mediate in these processes. So our experiences in the tenure reform process in terms of Trunka, that it's very costly and sometimes, I mean, inappropriate, because in many cases, the courts didn't know, for instance, how to deal with these tenure issues within these areas. So we've resolved many of the disputes that arose through the tenure reform process by looking at community processes, the institutions that were developed and set up, working with the municipalities. And in cases where we couldn't resolve some of these areas of conflict, we had an opportunity to make use of the officials from the department. So that's a much cheaper way of resolving these kind of conflicts. So, yeah, so in conclusion, I want to say it is quite interesting. I mean, we've got Ultra, we've got Trankra, and if I remember, I mean, there was an agreement in 2000 with a court for the instance for the Moravian Mission Station with the Department of Land Affairs at that time. So our recommendation is maybe the committee should consider of actually going back and work on developing a more comprehensive land reform piece of legislation so that it covers all of us in South Africa, that you don't end up with a piece of tenure reform legislation for colored people, for Black people in this country, but that we have a single comprehensive piece of legislation, Chairperson. So on that note, I want to end and I want to commend the committee for affording the opportunity and also affording the opportunity for South Africans to participate in this process. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Harry May, for your input. I'm certain it has been well received by the honorable members. Please stay with us for questions and clarity when the other two presenters have concluded as well. I will now take the opportunity. Uba Ufanyana Mkondwane is a community member hailing all the way from Mpumalanga. Mkondwane. Mkondwane.
Greetings to yourself, Chairperson.
Good morning.
Honorable members, honorable councillors, and members of the public. First and foremost, one is to appreciate the opportunity, Chairperson. The latter speakers have covered most of my points, Dr. Ngabai, to be particular. However, in addition, Chairperson, according to my cognizance, the Ultra Bill seeks to address the unfair discrimination of women based on their gender into their right of tenure. Therefore, Chairperson, the amendments are very necessary to cap discrimination against indigenous Black African women in particular. Chairperson, one of the key objectives of the ruling party is to create a united, a non-racial, non-sexist, free and prosperous South Africa, where we all enjoy the wealth of our country. It would be unfair of those of us who have been afforded an opportunity of presenting to the committee if we do not categorically state that youth in South Africa, Chairperson, constitutes about 60% of society. Therefore, we are lobbying the committee as well to include young people and people living with disabilities when upgrading the land tenure bill. We know, Chairperson, that during the apartheid era law only recognized men as head of the family, and thus ownership was only granted to men. Last but not least, Chairperson, let me quote one of the greatest revolutionary icons by the name Robert Gabriel Mugabe when he says, and I quote, "Do you know that in the whole of Africa, Zimbabweans are the only people who own their land? We are the only Blacks who owns and runs the means of production. We own our own companies and our own land. That is the true meaning of independence. That would be my submission, Chairperson, as I'm allowed to submarine from the platform.
Thank you, Kondwana, for your submission. I'm certain that honorable members will be able to engage further when we come to questions of clarity. And we appeal to you to stay with us as we take our last speaker. Before we go into questions of clarity, I will now call on Wanda Moilwa. Wanda Moilwa, please take the platform. And I'll request everyone else to mute your microphones. Please mute your microphones.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, members of community, morning. Honorable Chair, I just want to pose some few questions because the latter speakers has covered me. As a councillor representing the farming communities, with regard to Land Tenure Act, Honorable Chair, I think the act is very vague when it comes to protect the farming communities, Honorable Chair. As a result, there are a few cases that I've come across. Even before I became a councillor, I was working at the office of the Premier in Northwest. Honorable Chair, I think if we are going to deal with the issue to protect the farming communities with regard to the constructive dismissals, Honorable Chair, because for me, Honorable Chair, the people who are staying in farming areas, when they once moving out from the areas going to the urban areas, if they want to visit their families whom passed away long time ago and buried in the farms, it's a problem. Or if they want to go and erect the tombstones there, it's a problem because the farm is privately owned. The owner of the farm is not giving them an opportunity to go and visit their buried ones, and also not the opportunity to go and erect the tombstones for their loved ones. So, Honorable Chair, I think the portfolio committee must look into that, Honorable Chair. The second thing, Honorable Chair, with regard to evictions, if you check, there are a few cases that I was part of, and it went to court, and our people are being losing those cases of evictions because I don't know whether the courts when they make a determination, they make determination based on color or what. Because if a person has stayed in the farm for more than 30 years or more than 45 years, others have been born there. But once the owner of the farm want to evict those people, it is a problem, Honorable Chair, to our people because the Land Tenure Act is not protecting them fully. So sometimes losing cases, and if they want to go and appeal or cases, then they are told to Constitutional Court, and which is financially, they don't have finances to pursue their rights, Honorable Chair. Then I'm thinking, when we do amendments, we must look into those issues so that our farming areas must be protected, Honorable Chair. I pause the Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Bao Moilwa, for your input. Honorable members, the presentations from all interested parties. We will now have a session of questions of clarity from the honorable members. and we will then await responses. I will ask all our presenters to please note the questions that are posed directly to you. And when we conclude, we will afford you 5 minutes to give responses to the questions of clarity. Honorable Klape.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Greetings to honorable members and presenters. Let me appreciate the presenters of today, and their input is so enriching. Honorable Chair, Ntate Motsweni spoke as and I just wanna check with Ntate Motsweni, does he see this piece of legislation that seeks to transfer ownership of land to women who has been excluded all this time as part of empowerment or as part of an assistance to one of the many challenges of our farm dwellers? To Dr. Nkapai, we appreciate, like I said, the presentation, Chair. I just want to have an idea on the different terms of leases that the doctor alluded to, that commercial farmers have got long term. Does he have an idea of how many years? And when he speaks of black farmers having short term in terms of lease, does he have also years so that we can get the difference that he's talking about? To say there's disparity, commercial farmers has got more years in terms of leases, and our black farmers are short-circuited in this regard. I just want to get also clarity from Doctor on, he said that the bill is not clear how it contributes to the process of what they are busy with the United Nations and everything. I just want to have clarity of what is it that he was talking about. And also exploiting his knowledge, his research, the institute he's working on. Does Dr. Nkapai think that this bill that we are busy with, the upgrading of Learner Tenure Rights Bill, does he think it will help the challenges that farm dwellers are experiencing, as alluded to Mr. Motsweni and Tate Wandamwilwa? Does he think this bill will alleviate some of these pressures from the farm dwellers? And if we have to come up with a comprehensive piece of legislation, as alluded or submitted by Mr. May, I want to know from our doctor, because he's busy with research, he has been on this for some time. Does he think it's possible to cluster traditional land, communal land, farm dwellers, townships, and municipalities into a one piece of legislation, so that moving forward as the portfolio committee, we know that we are busy with communal land tenure bill on the other side, and because of the diversity of South Africa, we find ourselves moving on different kinds of pieces of legislation. Now, with the vast knowledge of research, does he think that is possible? As our defined private residences or private who are farm dwellers, when they go and stay in the farms, work in farms, get accommodations, to always know that this is a private.
We are losing you, Honorable Klape. We are losing you.
It's like I was lost. I got kicked out of this. Am I back?
Yes, you froze. So your
Yeah,
last question, we did pick it up clearly.
My last question was on Councillor Muilwa. How do we assist our people to always know that when they go and work at their farms, this is a private property, so that there's no an expectation beyond a certain point, because they go there, they get accommodation, and at the end of the day, it becomes issues of squabbles, evictions, and everything. How do we think, as a public representative like us, how do we come together there and come up with an educative programs in that? How can we assist our people? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Marshall. Marshall.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. Chairperson, I would like to greet you this morning and all the people that are present in this meeting of today. Chairperson, I have heard all the presentations as they were presented, and we appreciate their hard work.
Honorable Marshall.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you please stop the car and park on the side of the road?
All right. All right. Chair, I wanted to say that we had all the presentations, and we appreciate their presence in this meeting of today. Then what is important, which I liked in the presentation, is that our people from the grassroots, they can be able to say what they see, and they can be able to tell us what they have realized in those farms. And I don't have any question presently, Chairperson, but I just wanted to appreciate the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Marshall. Can we have the Honorable Stein?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you also to all the people who made presentations. Chairperson, firstly, Mr. Monsweni from Mpumalanga Standerton, with describing the issues that farm workers experience. I would like to find out if they went to the Department of Agriculture's offices or to the labor offices or anywhere for assistance on that, Chair, or if at all possible, you can maybe write or give information to our staff members who have assisted, so that we can also follow up on that issues. I cannot believe that's the wrong words. It's not the word I cannot believe. The words must be, it's not allowed in these days that we have made all the laws to protect all people, and also farm workers, that this is still happening on farms, Chair, and it is important that we do follow up on these issues. Chairperson, Dr. Kapai, thank you very, very much for that. I would like to find out if you think that the legislation that we are currently discussing will solve the issues that we have discussed, because I kind of agree with the presenters that says we need to look at one piece of legislation for everyone. This discussion of this section and that section and solving an issue here and there, it is taking time, and it almost feels like we are, doing things just when a problem arises and not looking at fixing the whole land issue in South Africa. So if you can tell me, Dr. Kapai, if you think the current piece of legislation will solve the issues that you have described currently. And then to the other presenters, Chairperson, thank you very much. Mr. may not remember me, but we've met each other before in Parliament, and I have to say today I fully agree with what he said. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Stein. And we have Honorable Matthias. Ntate Matthias.
He's not with us, Chair.
Honorable Briet.
Not with us as well. She extended an apology, Chair. And Ms. Choi.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me indicate that I'm in Cape Town. My network is a little bit bad, so I will not put on a video. My sincere apologies. However, Chair, let me appreciate inputs made by all the presenters. I have no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlatsi. Honorable Kapa.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me join my colleagues in appreciating the inputs that were presented by all the presenters. They are quite informative.
Honorable Kapa, apologies. Can we ask Uba Mpostoli Shadrach to please mute your microphone? Thank you. Proceed, Honorable Kapa.
Thank you, Chair. One very important common aspect of these presentations to me is that there is a need of a comprehensive land reform process. Because a number of things that are raised by the presenters are the issues that indicate that our people still feel that a lot has to be done in the process of land reform. And therefore, it means that the issues put a weight in the sense that when they come with concrete proposals and suggestions and assist. Now, on Mr. Bongani, I think he should be comfortable that a number of us know the things that he's talking about, that they do exist and practically. And therefore, I understand the situation where when the presenters have to refer to an act or a presentation of that legislation, they will immediately bring in all the other issues that relate to their life on the farms. But what he fell short of then is now a reference to this proposed bill, that while all these things have to be addressed, their position on this proposed bill and whether it will contribute towards solving those issues. But what is important then is this proposal that seems to be needs an inclusive understanding. But for instance, Dr. Ngapai is clearly indicating the places, areas that he feels that there are shortcomings in the bill, and therefore it assists, especially when he comes with concrete proposals as to elevate those areas that are becoming shortcomings. I would like to just ask him to add on that part of the concrete proposals that he feels, especially where there are gaps that he identifies. Otherwise, thanks a lot for all these presentations. They mean a lot. They are going to assist us in identifying these areas of shortcomings in the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kapa. Can we move on to Honorable Mbabama?
Enkosi Sihlalo ngaphambili. I must reiterate the thanks of my colleagues in terms of today's presentations. I feel that they are very valuable inputs indeed, and we will gain a lot from what has been said today. I just have one question for both Dr. Ngapai and Mr. Harry May. I've been sitting here thinking, and I would just like to hear their views on how does this legislation fit into the work around expropriation without compensation. We all know that, you know, we are busy now with, there is a committee that is busy with expropriation without.
Repeat that because you froze, so we haven't heard your input. Please repeat.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Chair. I would like to ask a question of Dr. Ngapai and Mr. Harry May of how in their minds do they see this ultra bill and what it seeks to do fitting into the work that is being done around expropriation without compensation. I hope I'm clear, Chair. Thank you very much.
Honorable Masipa.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the presenters. My question my question of clarity to Ndade Motsweni.
We only see your forehead, Honorable Masipa.
Oh, sorry. Can you see me now, Chair?
Yes, we can see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry. My question is to Ndade Motsweni. Ndade Motsweni, the question that I have for you is, I know that you have addressed the issues of the water issues on the farm and so forth, and Mestain indicated that we need to get the information around this, which I agree with her. But I think the question that I have is, can you maybe just address us on this particular bill as to what is your position or the position of the people or the constituency that you represent? If you can help us with that, I will really appreciate. To Dr. Ngapai, thank you very much really for your input. I think it's commendable. You did say that this bill is really commendable, which we welcome that, but you did say that further that is reform. And further you said that this bill is concerned with township instead of rural areas as well. So the question that I have for you, I think you did indicate about the number of areas that needs to be addressed. But the question is that if the bill has to consider the rural areas, which I think you agree that the bill must also consider the rural area, what type of security of tenure would you recommend for the rural people? I think the rest of the contribution that I've seen here from Mr. May and the others are actually saying that we need to look at this bill in a comprehensive, we need to find a comprehensive bill that address the land issue in the country, which I think is commendable. I thank you, Chair. I think I'm covered with the rest. But if I can just get clarity from the two questions that I've raised. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Masipa. Honorable members, is there any other honorable member that I've missed out who would wish to ask a question? If not, we will then move to responses from our presenters. I will then call on Mr. Bongani Mtsweni. Bongani Mtsweni, are you still with us? While we ask the Secretariat to look for him and confirm, let's move on to Dr. Fanning Apai.
He left the meeting, Chair.
Okay, Dr. Fanning Apai.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I wish I had all the answers for the questions, but I will respond to some of the issues that have been raised regarding the disparities in leasehold arrangements. Some white farmers have lease agreements with whether municipalities on commonage land that is long as 40 years, 50 years, whilst people under the current legislation who are acquiring farms get short-term leases of about 3 to 5 years. I understand that there are attempts to increase the lease arrangements for land reform beneficiaries to longer term. But in the majority of cases, these people are getting short-term leases that are, if they are longer than 10 years, they are very long. They are less than 10 years, whereas their counterparts are having leaseholds that are more than 20, 30 years. So those are some of the disparities for me that I am raising. And will the bill help with challenges of farm dwellers? Chairperson, the issue of farm dwellers, farm workers, is an issue that needs serious consideration because they are, in most cases, on land that belongs to somebody else. And that somebody else determines how the rights these people have on the land, and that is why there is violation of the rights of farm dwellers and farm workers on farms. Now, for me, the bill, I can't see how it would help in such a situation. I mean, without dealing with the issue of ownership of land by farm workers and farm dwellers. That is why I'm raising the issue of linking this bill to the whole process of land reform, seeing it as part of land reform, especially land redistribution. We need to deal with the issue of land redistribution. Otherwise, the bill, I mean, the most that it can do for farm dwellers would be to allow them to stay on their houses they are on or on the farms. Nothing more. Their rights to water, their rights to cultural activities on the farm will still be curtailed. So you need to deal with land redistribution, allow farm dwellers, farm workers to have their own land. And this cannot be done without dealing with the issue of land redistribution. Can there be a single tenure system for the different areas of South Africa? I'm not professing that there should be one tenure system, But I'm saying whatever tenure arrangement that is developed through this bill must take into account that there are various parts of the country that have different tenure arrangements that render South African citizens, some South African citizens, non-citizens. Now you need to deal with that situation as we deal with, as we develop an act that addresses or that upgrades tenure rights of people. And this takes me to the point that was raised about the point that I'm making is that the bill should be assessed in terms of whether it helps to address landlessness and the overcrowding the majority of Black people find themselves in. It will not make sense to give rights, tenure rights, to people who are in overcrowded spaces, because we need to deal with the issue of access to land for livelihoods. Because let me not expand on that. But the point is, the point that I want to make is that we should be using this as an opportunity to address all the shortcomings that we have as a country. We have a majority of people who are landless, who are ravaged by poverty because they do not have means of production, or they have limited means of production, access to means of production. We need to deal with those issues as we grapple with the issue of land tenure in the country.
Can we conclude?
The last point, the issue of the bill and the land exploration without compensation. Insofar as this, the land expropriation without compensation is trying to speed up land reform, if I understand it clearly, and the redistribution. It will assist in allowing, in freeing a lot of land that some of which is used unproductively, underutilized. Others, some portions of land would be land that is in debt. If that land it gets freed and is redistributed to people who are landless, who are in need of land for livelihoods, that would help to deal with landlessness. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nkapai. Can we have Ntate Fanyana Mkondwane? Mkondwane. Is he still with us? Let's move on to Mr. Harry May. While we are looking for Mr. Mkondwane, we'll afford Mr. Harry May.
Okay, so I was asked the question, the relationship between this bill and expropriation without compensation. So I think, this piece of legislation and the expropriation legislation affords us an opportunity to also broadly relook at, for instance, agrarian transformation in our country, and in particular, the issue of the property system that we have. So one of the things that I've mentioned to a colleague yesterday, it would seem that we have a kind of dual system. We've got the deed office, the surveyor general, but for the minority of the citizens of this country, because all the other citizens in the country have kind of informal rights. So we have an opportunity also not just to get access to more land redistributed to South African citizens, but also to rethink the broader system that we have. So I'll also touch on a few issues from our experience as SPP over the last 30 years. Lease agreements, so they are long-term lease agreements, like in Stellenbosch, where people had 99-year leases. And since 1997, with the Democratic Land Reform Program, I mean, people would get leases that would range from 1 year to a maximum of 9 years and 11 months. And there's a reason why it's 9 years. So in line with the local government legislation. So on the question of having a comprehensive piece of legislation, I think, I mean, it will be useful for the committee to consider. So even with regard to the transformation of certain rules, we also had to lean on the provisions in IPILRA, in the CPA Act, and all these are in different places. So it will be useful to consider a broad, comprehensive Tenure Reform Act that will be applicable to the whole of South Africa, that you don't have these different pieces of legislation. So I think that will be a good achievement for us if we can say, this is the legislation that we use and not run to different pieces of legislation. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ntate May, for your responses. Can I call on Ubao Moilwa, Bawanda Moilwa? Yes, proceed, Ntate.
Yes, Honorable Chair. The other thing that I want to also to highlight with the Department of Rural and Land Reform. Honorable Chair, the issue regarding the saying this because when it comes to purchase and signing the lease agreements with the people who have the interest to become the small emerging farmers, it is a problem. Because according to me, Honorable Chair, you people staying in the farms, they have worked there for more than decades, more than 20 to 40 years. Others have been born there and working the same farm. But when it comes to the purchase and the selling of the farms, when the department go and make assessment, they are not considering those people who have been there for a long time. It's either they will bring someone from outside, becomes a small farm in that
Baubongane, please mute your microphone. Baubongane, please mute your microphone. Baubongane, please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, yes, I was still in that issue. Yes, I was still in that issue of the people who are residing in those farms. The department is also discriminatory. Department of Rural and Land Reform is also discriminatory because they are not giving those people a chance also or an opportunity to be the small emerging farmers. It's either they are bringing someone from outside to come there and make production in those farms, while people who are residing in those farms, they are just sitting there and they are not giving an opportunity also to work in those farms. Others are department buying or comes into an agreement with those emerging farmers, but those are not making production. It's either they come with cattle, poultry or something, but not actually making agricultural production in those farms, and which is a problem to us. Instead, the people who are residing in those farms, they could have been given an opportunity to become an emerging farmers. The department must monitor them. Department must teach them how to run the business. But now the department is neglecting them. That's my problem I'm having, Honorable Chair. And Honorable Chair, that is why today we are having a backlog when it comes to farming community areas. Because according to me, they should have been given an opportunity, despite the fact that they are not well educated, they are illiterate. But when it comes to work specifically, they know the work because they have been doing that work for many decades. The only thing is that they cannot write, they cannot read, but they can do the work. So the department must monitor, the department must take them along, teach them how to write proposals, how to do your applications going forward. But now, if the department is neglecting them, then where are they going to get that assistance from? Because the department must firstly consider the people who are staying in those farms before they can bring someone outside. And the department also, when they do the monitoring, they can also assist those people. But if they are not assisting them, we are going to have a problem that will come a disease for those people who are staying in the farms going forward, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, this glorious movement, when they fought for democracy, they didn't fight democracy to discriminate people on the basis of their studies, the basis of their educational level. They fought for democracy for each and every person in this country must benefit and reap the soft democracy. But the people who are staying in the farming areas, they've never enjoyed democracy until today. So we are neglecting the people who are staying in farming areas, and that is a problem to me. So I want the people who are staying in the farming areas be given an opportunity also, because they know the way. They must be given an opportunity. The issue of paperwork and other things, the department must assist them and monitor them. But if once the department if the department come and oppress them, Honorable Chair, I'm having a problem. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you for the responses to the questions that were posed by the honorable members. Honorable members, let us proceed to the second session of our presenters and call upon our first presenter on this second session will be Ntate Willem de Chavones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, my name is Willem de Chavones. I'm the president of Agri Northwest, and I'm a livestock farmer from the Northwest province, more particular from Ratlai municipality. Thanks a lot for this opportunity to address members of Parliament and fellow South Africans regarding this very important piece of legislation. I firstly want to state that I'm not a law expert and I'm not a specialist on traditional affairs, so I'm not going to stick my neck out in that regard. But I'm a farmer and I do have a passion for the rights of the citizens of our country, and any legislation that will promote the rights of especially women in our country, we fully support. So from Agri Northwest side, we support this legislation. We also support the submissions made by Agri SA and by BUSA. In the rural areas, we've got a massive problem of food insecurity, and it's been highlighted during this COVID crisis as well. And the reason we've got a food insecurity crisis is not because there's not enough food produced in our country, The main reason is because we have such a high unemployment rate, and the unemployment rate is because of one of the reasons the unemployment rate is so high is because we don't have tenure security for lots of people in South Africa. So this bill trying to address tenure security will definitely help with the food insecurity problems that we do have. For instance, in my municipal area, we over 60% of the municipal land is government owned, but 95 to 98% of the job creation is in the 35% of the privately owned land. So we need to get some proper tenure security for everybody so that they can participate in the rural economy. We've done a survey under our members on numerous occasions, and over 90% of 95% of our members would like to help emerging farmers, new farmers, becoming strategic partners, but then the business plans need to make economic sense and they need tenure security. Agriculture is a long-term investment, and without tenure security, there will be no investment. We've gone through a couple of models, and without tenure security, we can't find any private finance. And to get the economy going, you need the private finance, so we need that tenure security. So in closing, I just want to say that, like I stated in the beginning as well, we want to see individuals and groups empowered. We want to see private property rights protected. We want to see all citizens enjoying the fruits of private property rights, and especially the discrimination against females. There's been a worldwide study, and I'm sure it'll be similar in South Africa as well, where female farmers reinvest over 90% of the income in their farming enterprises. So you get much better growth if there's female farmers. So we would like to see more females participate in farming in farming enterprises. Mr. Chair, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Good luck with your work, and I'll stay in line as long as possible to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntate Willem de Chavunes Fruchte from Agri Northwest. Thank you for the input you've made on these public hearings. And I'm certain that honorable members will be able to have questions of clarity on the input that you have made. Honorable members, let me call on Ubao Hadebe. Mxolisi Hadebe. Khona Ubao Mxolisi Hadebe.
Na chairperson ngiyazwakala.
Ewe uyazwakala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, councillors, community members, fellow South African. My name is Mxolisi Hadebe. I'm from Mpumalanga province, near a small town called Falkrust. Chair, firstly, I'd like to raise my point, man, on this proposal of the bill, especially the act that has been declared unconstitutional due to gender-based discrimination. I fully support that is unconstitutional due to gender-based discrimination. That women do not have the right to own and control land because of patriarchal discrimination legislative laws. Under this customary law, women are treated as minors, and therefore I cannot allocate land, inherit or eat or make a decision about its management and use. We like to see changes, amendment to this ATRA Act as to ensure in line with the provision of the South African Constitution, especially the section of equality. As an activist, not in my name, we support the amendment of the bills, Chairperson. We like to enforce that agriculture and land reform legislation and policies in South Africa attempt to incorporate gender concern and ensure women participation in land, Tenure Bill Act delivery. Before I'll make closing, Chairperson, I'd like to see that government ownership control our land because of these common law systems. Land tenure is a legal regime. It's biased, giving minority rightful ownership. We argue that compensation must be paid and in turn challenging the proposed constitutional amendment in court. We love to see changes in South Africa, especially in the environmental and landscape issues. We must be alert that no compliance risk or legal risk in the resources and economy will be getting affected for not following the regulation. We love to see changes, especially in African people, to give in training and development workshops that can equip them in the agricultural sectors and land reforms. Young people are great assets, Chairperson, to any country. Let's implement the regulation that can change the life of all. For instance, let government be ownership right of the land and all the resources. I submit. Thank you, Chairperson.
Bongani.
Oh, ngaphandle kwakho, Chairperson, Nkosi ehlabathi siyabonga.
Without you,
Ubonga
Chairperson.
thina
Nothing. Thank you
baba.
very much, Mthimkhulu.
Mfundisi Hadebe. We certainly will come back on questions of clarity on his presentation. We will move on, honorable members. Allow me to invite Mpostoli Sibeko, community member hailing all the way from Mpumalanga. Ntate Sibeko. Usekhona Mpostoli Sibeko. While we await for him, can we call on Khosi Mabe? Khosi Mabe. And I check with the Secretariat and our content advisors and staff to assist on the two presenters if they are available. Mpostoli Sibeko as well as Khosi Mabe. Are they with us?
Mpostoli Sibeko uteng chair.
Okay. Ntate Sibeko, you may proceed. Mpostoli Sibeko, you may proceed. Mpostoli Sibeko. Mpostoli Sibeko, please unmute your microphone and you may proceed.
Mpostoli uphumile chair.
I just witnessed that as well. Khosi Mabe. Honorable members, let's go into questions of clarity on the presentations that have been put. Maybe before we do that, let me ascertain, is there anyone who is on the platform who would like to make a presentation? Can you raise your hand or signal to us?
Mbostoli is back, Chair.
Mpostoli Sibeko, are you ready to do your presentation? Mpostoli Sibeko, can you unmute your microphone and present? Honorable members, let us move to questions of clarity on the presentations that have been put to us. Whilst we request the Secretariat and staff to engage with the two latter presenters to see if we are able to have them present right after these questions of clarity. Honorable Clapper.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I think the presentation by Ntate Valem from Agri Northwest, straight and forward, and we really appreciate the support that Agri Northwest is giving for women to own property. I think it's a progressive move, and in as much as we support the expansion in commercial agriculture, we get comforted to hear organizations like Agri Northwest supporting the move for women to own their own properties. I also appreciate, Honorable Chair, the presentation from Tatem Kolisi Hadebe, and I don't have a question for him. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlo.
I'm covered, leadership. Chairperson, I'm covered.
Thank you, Honorable Stein.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I also just want to thank the presenters. I think they have made good inputs, and we will take it into consideration when we are discussing the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Matthias. He was not with us earlier. Honorable Muntwedi.
Thank you very much, Chair. A very good morning to all members. Chair, I want to raise something with regard to what was raised by Mr. Phelim of Agri Northwest. Am I audible, Chair?
Yes, you are audible, but not visible. You may proceed.
Yes, I'm sorry for not being visible. I'm going to get cut because it's the network, if I can put my picture. Chair,
yeah.
Mr. Phelim made mention of the fact that we need to protect private property. Now, as a sensible, law-abiding citizen, we agree and abide to this. However, we are talking redress and justice. You cannot talk about protecting private property, particularly relating to land, without having first redress of the past and giving people much needed justice. I want to ask Mr. Velem in regard to that submission that he made to say, shouldn't we first redress and deliver justice first, then talk protection of private property from an equal footing? Because talking about private property now, we're not talking about it from an equal footing. Would it not be best if we can talk about protecting of private property rights from an equal footing, Chair? I'm speaking to that because that's something that I heard him mention. Thank you very much, Mudula Stilo.
Thank you, and Tate Montwedi, Mema Shatsi, the Honorable Mema Shatsi.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm covered.
Thank you, Honorable Tapa.
Thank you, Chair. I'm covered also.
Thank you, Honorable Mbabama.
Thank you, Chair. I have no questions, just an appreciation for the presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Masipa.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the presenters. Willem from Agri Northwest, I just want to ask a question. I know that there has been engagement between Agri SA and the traditional leaders of the communal to address the issue of productivity in communal land. Are you able to give some feedback with regards to how that conversation is going and what are some of the challenges in terms of making those communal land productive or support the host, the chiefs and kings in terms of making those land productive? Thanks very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Is there any other honorable member who wishes to pose a question whom I may have missed? Okay, honorable members, I believe Ntate Bongani has been able to join us again. Let us afford him the opportunity to respond on the questions that were posed to him. Bongani, you may proceed. Please unmute your microphone.
Oh, okay. Ngiyazwakala manje.
Uyazwakala baba.
Oh, okay. Hey, angizwanga i-question.
I didn't hear the question. But Chairperson, I did record as an interpreter something that I would say it's in vernacular to Hlonishwa Bongani. I wonder if I can ask those
Please
questions.
proceed. Yes.
Okay. Babu Bongani, umhlonishwa uTlape ubebuze ukuthi kulomthetho okukhulunywa ngawo namhlanje lengxenye yomthetho ukubona kukhona yini ukuthuthukisa kwabantu besifazane emaplazini khona yini usizo noma intuthuko engaba khona kubantu besifazane emaplazini babomtsweni kwasekuthi angazi mangaqhubeka ngiphinde ngibuze omunye ithi ayifani. Okay, bese kuthi umama umhlonishwa uStain babomtsweni wathi kuloko obukuchazile okwenzeka emaplazini okubi kangaka kungabe nalithola ithuba lokuthi niye emahhovisi ezolimo noma ezabasebenzi ithole abasebenzi bakhona lixoxe lolu daba indlela eniphatheke ngayo uma naya nathola yiphi impendulo naphathwa kanjani khona neminyakazo eyavela emahhovisi ezolimo noma ezomsebenzi ukuthi nikwazi ukusizakala na ngoba ngeke ukuthi kusetshenzwe kangaka umthetho uhlanganiswa lengxenye legislation kodwa kuthola kathi nisahlupheka kangaka emaplazini akulungile lokho. Kwasekuthi ke ubaba Chapha akukuningi kakhulu baba ngoba kuthi akufani. Umhlonishwa uChapha babomsweni wathi kufanele wazi ukuthi bayazi bona njengamalungu eParliament izinto ezenzeka empilweni zenu emaplazini noma zingabajabulisi. Wena ke njengomelele umphakathi othile ozowumela la Ikuphi enikushoyo ngalo nxa yomthetho? Lipho ikuphi enikubonayo okungabe okuxegayo noma ukuqinisa lo mthetho ukuthi usebenze ngendlela efaneleyo. Okugcina ke baba uMtsweni kuyafana nje futhi. Ubaba uMasipho wathi okukhulu kakhulu bakuzwile ukuthi uthini. Kodwa batshele ukuthi nina ke nithini njengabantu abalapha emaplazini kakhulukazi wena ozobamela la. Ingakho ngithe ngithi imibuzo yabo ithi ayibe umbuzo wodwa ukuthi igalelo leni nithini ngalomthetho abawethula kunini. Ikuphi enikubona kusizakale khona, ikuphi mhlambe la kuxega khona. Bafuna nje lokho ukuthi uveze lokho bakuzwile konke lokho okushoyo. Ikuphi ke okuvela ngakini njengomphakathi enifisa ukudlulisa alo mthetho phambi kwenu. Ngiyabonga.
Yeah, okay man. Okokuqala uphendula umbuzo wokuqala la.
To respond to the first question.
Umthetho ubonakala ubakhava futhi ungabasebenzela abantu besifazane.
This piece of legislation is very good. It can help women. If there can be people who can come out and check, come to the farms and check the situation. It's breaking. I can't hear him.
Mutsweni. Bawubongani Mutsweni. Bawubongani Mutsweni. Bawubongani Mutsweni usasekhona? Bawubongani Mutsweni sengathi usilahlekele. It seems we may have lost Uba Mutsweni. We will proceed, honorable members, and request Ntate Willem de Chavannes Fruchte from Agri Northwest to respond to the questions that were posed to him.
Chair, Ntate Willem left because he's saying he's got an urgent emergency that he needs to deal with.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. If we may call on Uba Hadebe Pungan, Tim Cole.
Chairperson.
Yes, you may respond to the question. Yeah, uyazwakala baba qhubeka.
Bese ngipresentile sala noma ngiyayiphinda futhi.
Should I repeat my presentation? Just respond to the questions that were asked by the members of parliament.
Oh, bengawuzwanga umbuzo, sorry baba.
I didn't hear the question, Chairperson.
You may interpret for him then the question.
Chairperson, I didn't record because it was done.
You didn't record,
Yeah,
Dr. Manenge. Dr. Manenge.
Chairperson.
Yes, can you assist with the questions that were posed to Uba Hadebe?
I'll ask my colleagues. I think they were taking notes, Tembi and Nokuzola. At that point, I was out of the building. Wasn't able to take questions. Thank you.
Mam Tasha. Mam Tasha.
Chairperson, there was no question to Mr. Hadebe.
Oh. Ake Bhungane kucacile uba beyingekho imibuzo zanga kuwe.
Makhulukhulu Dlomo wakithi.
Siyabonga.
Inkosi Sihlalo.
Thank you, honorable members. We will move on then, since the other presenters, we are unable to locate them or we have lost them. Is there any other people that have joined us who are ready to present? Who's moving around there? Manyamza. If you may assist on presenter.
I'm not sure who they are, Chair, because they registered with a number 1KNST1. So I'm not sure who they are. I don't know their identities.
Tweni, please mute your microphone. Mute your microphone. Thank you. Can I request the honorable, the gentleman with a gray polo neck, please present. Bob, please present.
Kumani, not development department.
Baba, please present the gentleman with the gray polo neck. Yes, please present. Are you able to hear us?
Chairman don't know colors.
Oh, am I colorblind? What color is that?
You are right. He might not know the color he's putting
in. Tate, please proceed and present. The gentleman with the polo neck. Yes, please present, Ntate. Don't look behind you, look at us, yes. Please proceed. Unfortunately, we don't have his name, but he is on the screen and is visible, although we don't seem to have him registered. Is there any presenter that is with us today who would like to present to the Portfolio Committee on these public hearings? Please proceed. Oh, you had that call. You don't want to present. The gentleman doesn't want to present. Honorable members, maybe let's check with staff if there's anyone they have on the register who would like to present.
There is no one, Chair.
There is no one.
Yes, Chair. Yes.
Honorable members, Baba, niyafuna presenter. Let's see, his audio is connecting. Gentlemen, do you wish to present to the Portfolio Committee? checking if, do you wish to present to the portfolio committee? The two gentlemen, are you connecting?
Yeah, it's like they're connecting, Chair.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to log in, and I'm still trying to give them an opportunity. Are you logging in, gentlemen, to present?
They can't hear you.
Yeah, it seems we are not audible on your side.
Oh, shame, old man. Nkosiam.
Memahlo, please mute your microphone. Honorable members, we have tried to give them an opportunity to present, but we seemingly are not audible on their side, and we can't pick up anything from their side. Sanbona Bab, how are you?
Morning.
Can you hear us? Do you hear us? No, I will have to. Yes, Honorable Klabe.
I was just checking if maybe we have IT people, they can take them off. Probably when they reconnect, they will get it right. Because I also see on the participant list, it's only the video that is on. If they cut them, then they reconnect, it might work. They might be able to call on internet altogether.
Thank you, Honorable Klape. Let us check with IT if there's anything on their side they may be able to do to reconnect this gentleman who has been patiently waiting to be with us on this public hearing. And anyone from IT, are you able to assist in this regard?
No, we don't have an IT person. We must log a call so that we can get that assistance.
Okay.
But true,
Honorable,
I can remove them. Maybe they will be able to log in again.
okay, please do that.
Thank you, Chair.
Manyamza, you will inform us if you've been able to reconnect them when they do come up. But in the meantime, I will pose then the question to the honorable members, as we had asked for an extension for 2.5 days to engage on these oral submissions, as we had received over 480 requests to make oral presentation. Out of those, I think from the 2.5 day assessment, we have probably only achieved about 60 of those. Can I then have your input on the way forward and how you think we ought to proceed? Perhaps also we can gain guidance from the content advisors in terms of the reflections on these 2.5 days that we have had and what their thoughts on the way forward ought to be.
Chair, Babu
Yes,
Postal is back.
Come again?
Babu Postal is back, Chair. He's struggling with the network, but he's back now.
Umpostoli Sibeko.
Mphathishlalo sanibonani.
Chairperson.
Njani
Good
baba?
afternoon.
Siyaphila
How are you?
ninjani? Nje
We're
kakhulu.
Apologies.
Ukungatholakali. Ngenxa ye network
Apologies.
sengize ngaphansi imoto
Because
ngadriver
of the disturbance of the network.
What do you
akukuningi
have to present?
Kodwa
I don't
bengisacela
have a lot.
ultra bill tenure. Ukuthi the ultra bill tenure must change to the ownership.
I should change.
Isizathu esikhona ngingumhlali wasemakhaya.
I'm a resident in rural areas.
Owner amakhaya okwamanje ama-plus or
I'm one of the farm owners for now.
Like for instance uma ngabe kumele ngivule ibhizinisi abakhona ukuthi amahlahla ukuthi sikhone ukuthi sivule lamabhizinisi afana nala.
Able to open businesses that you want.
Uma ngabe ufuyile iy'nkomo.
If you have livestock,
ilimit yokuthi
there is a limit that is given to you.
uye iy'nkomo zigcine kunamba engaka.
The number of the livestock to keep is limited.
So yingakho ngithi
it mustn't happen like that. That's why I'm saying this ultra bill should deal with the ownership.
Kumele kube nomngcwabo ku that particular
if there has to be a funeral in a farm, others are not allowed to go and bury their loved ones.
Ibuye futhi isebenzise kabuhlungu ama-councillors.
Even the councillors are unable to work smoothly.
Amanye ama-owners akakhona ukuthi aze assign.
The owners are unable to sign for the service.
I think as a department, verify.
I think as Parliament or as the department, there should be verification of those owners.
Owners exactly
find out whether it's the genuine owners that are signing. Because sometimes they call themselves they are owners while abusing people who are suffering there. Shortly, Chairperson.
The tenure must change to the ownership.
Tenure should be changed to the ownership. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Baumpostoli Sibeko, for your presentation. Is there any other person who may wish to present to the Portfolio Committee? Postoli, please, your microphone. Postoli, please mute your microphone.
Oh, sorry, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other presenter who may wish to present? Honorable members, on the presentation of Baumpostoli Is there any honorable member who may wish to put a question of clarity? Manyamza, please mute your microphone. You are audible with Dr. Manenge. Any honorable member who may wish to pose a question of clarity on the presentation of Baumposto Disibeko? Thank you, honorable members. Let me also thank all our presenters for their submissions they've made on this upgrading of the land tenure right amendment bill. We will ensure that all your input is taken to consideration as we, as a portfolio committee of agriculture, land reform and rural development, move forward with the amendment of the bill. Honorable members, would like to thank you for the participation on this 5th day of our public hearings, and would like to just check with the Secretariat and the content advisors in terms of what the way forward will be. Having concluded this 2.5 days, we had made a request for an extension. Manyamza.
Chair. I'm listening, Chair.
Yes, we would like you to just give indication as to what your thoughts are on a way forward in terms of procedure having concluded this 2.5 days.
Thank you, Chair. The Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development must present to the committee their responses to the submissions that we received, both written and oral submissions. And then that would be followed by the analysis by the content advisors and researchers. Then we consider the bill clause by clause, but before that, we check, members must deal with the motion of desirability, whether this bill is desirable for the committee to proceed and report to the House. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Manyamza. Any other further input from our content advisors? Dr. Manenge, Mamkashe.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Ms. Yamza mentioned everything that we were going to say, except to say that the day that the content advisors and researchers will address the committee, we'll also invite the legal advisors to come also and deal with all the legal questions that may have emanated from this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Mamkashe, you wanna take the last bite as we conclude Women's Month?
I'm covered, Chair. Thank you.
Oh, Mbogoto is covered. Thank you. Honorable members,
Mr.
Okay,
Mr. Zwane is connecting, is one of the participants that we're supposed to speak today. Thank you, Chair.
Babu Zwane.
Mr. Zwane.
Babu Zwane.
I see, Chair, that he's trying to connect to audio. It says connecting to audio.
It's been doing that all morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the challenge we've been having with him for the whole morning. And we tried to even identify him. So I'm happy that they've been able to locate that his name is Ubaus Piwe Zwane. Manged. Manged. Uyasizwa bawuzwane. Bawumangede. Honorable members, Mr. Zwane hasn't been able to hear us, nor are we able to hear him. And this has been going on for the whole session this morning, ever since he connected. We have tried all possible means to connect with him, but we are only seeing him. He's visible. No audio is coming through from our side to him, nor from his side to us. Therefore, we are unable to receive his submission, and we may request the Secretariat to engage further with him and see if we can send a written response to a written submission to the committee. Because on this particular engagement, see, now he's already gone off the system, so we've lost him again. We will leave it for the Secretariat to contact him and get a written submission so that we are able to note his input. You have heard, honorable members, on what the way forward will be, and we will engage on the desirability of the bill. And if we have indeed been able to achieve what we set out to in ensuring that we are able to engage with all persons that wished to give input on this upgrading of the Land Tenure Rights Amendment Bill. We therefore want to thank you for this fifth day of our public hearings, and wish you well ahead of the weekend. May you continue to stay safe and protected during these challenging times of COVID pandemic. We wish you well with your families over the weekend, and we shall resume and continue our work on the next setting. Honorable members, our staff, and all our guests that have been able to be with us, and those that particularly gave in their submissions, we thank you for your input. The meeting stands adjourned.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and have a lovely weekend, colleagues.
And
Thank
you, everyone, and also our co-chair yesterday.
In Bogoto, Metlafe, you have the 4